and we are sitting close to a drainage line with some elephant feeding. It's a beautiful warm afternoon. I'm hoping these elephant come out, and this is Safari Live. So the OTS is already rolled. So everyone, welcome. It is Safari Live. My name is Byron, and on camera with me is Fergus. Wonderful to have you, and a big warm welcome to our 3 schools this afternoon. We've got Diamond Springs Elementary, Mary Kay Good, and we've got South Londonderry. It's a lovely, lovely opportunity to have you with us, and I hope you all enjoy this afternoon's safari with us. Don't forget to ask your teachers to send us your questions, and they can do that through Twitter at #SafariLive, and we'll gladly get through some questions for you and hopefully teach you a little bit about the African bush. Now, Tristan, not Taylor, Tristan's also out on the vehicles. He's going to be driving around, hopefully finding some animals with me this afternoon, and then the ladies in the final control. So don't forget, send us questions and we'll gladly get to them. And it's wonderful for me to be back. I've been away for a little bit. I'm just trying to see if I can see this elephant again for you, but it looks like it's moved off. I'm going to try and reposition and see if I can find that elephant. Let's head over to my friend Tristan, who would like to say hello to you. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Sunset Safari, and a special warm welcome to the schools that are joining us this afternoon. I hope you're going to have a wonderful time with us, and hope that we'll see lots of little interesting things to show you guys in the African bush. Now, my name is Tristan, as Byron mentioned, and on camera today I've got Craig, aka the Batman, and we are trying to see if we can't find ourselves a spotted cat called a leopard. So we're trying to go and check around a waterhole where my friend Taylor had a leopard this morning, and see if he's maybe not lounging around that area. So that's where we're heading to now. Hopefully we're going to have some luck and we'll be able to show you the beauty that is a leopard, because a leopard is my favorite animal, and I'm hoping that we're going to see one. So let's have a look and go and try and find. Now, we had a beautiful bird that was sitting on the tree and close to us here, but it flew away, unfortunately. Now, it did land a little bit closer here, so I want to try and see if we can't see it. Craig, can you still see it? It was somewhere here on our left hand side that it landed, and it was called a lizard buzzard. And a lizard buzzard, I'll show you what it looks like in the book, and as you may guess, it eats little lizards, and that's where it gets its name from. So let me see if I can't just find it quickly. And they're a bird that often doesn't sit still for very long. They like to fly quite a bit, and so it happens quite often where you'll try and sort of put it on the camera, but it flies away before you can get it. So this is the lizard buzzard over here, and it's an easy bird to identify because of this. You see, it's got this black line that comes down from its beak down its throat, and almost has a little stripe like my beard that comes down off my face, and that's the exact same thing for this bird, and so that's why we can identify it very, very easily. No other bird has that marking at all. Right, so unfortunately it's flown away. I can't see it here anymore. I thought it might be sitting in one of these trees. They're a bird that likes to sit in big trees, so if you look at the big trees and you look just underneath where the leaves are, then that's where that bird likes to sit. But I've checked the big tree on our left, the big tree on our right. I didn't see it fly that way, so I think it's gone a little bit further, and I don't think we're going to be able to find it, unfortunately. But let's see now what else we can find. It's such a beautiful day here in South Africa. We've got the sun shining, there's a little bit of a breeze, and it really is very, very pleasant. And it's a perfect afternoon for doing a safari. Now, I wonder if Tingana has decided. So Tingana is the name of the male leopard that we're trying to find. He's a very, very big, large male that is the dominant male here. So he's the male that keeps all the other males away and looks after the females in this area. And so hopefully, I'm hoping that he's a little bit tired from his morning walking around, and that he decided to find a nice place to lie down. There is a bit of a water hole, so there's water where he can go and drink, and maybe that's where he's decided to sleep for the day. Apparently he was very hungry this morning, so he was trying to chase lots of other animals and trying to hunt them. So maybe we'll get lucky and we'll be able to find him somewhere at that water. But I'm going to do a loop around first, because when you're looking for cats like this, if you can't find them around the water or somewhere like that, then what you need to do is check the last place that they were seen and check around that area and see if their footprints don't cross the road. Because if their footprints do cross the road, well, then we know that the leopard has gone out of this area. But if it doesn't, then we know he's sleeping somewhere in the shade over here. So while we do that, let's go back to Byron, who I think is... I do indeed, Tristan. We've managed to find at least 2 or 3 vervet monkeys that seem to be playing hide and seek with us at the moment. They're hiding in the thickets of the trees. Very elusive little creatures when they want to be. They can hide quite easily, but there we go. You can see the vervet monkey clearly in the tree. I will go back into that area a little bit later to see if we can find those elephants again, but they did move off a little bit from where we were. Just not to say that they're gone completely. Maybe they just moved to the other side of that little drainage line. It's so nice to be out this afternoon. Wonderful temperature. As I was saying, I think it's about 84 degrees Fahrenheit or 29 degrees Celsius. It's a really lovely warm temperature, and the animals are all enjoying this weather too. Because the evenings can get quite cold here in winter. It's our winter now. So the evenings and the mornings do get very cold. But not too bad. Not nearly like the winters that some of you might experience in Europe and in the United States, when it gets much colder there compared to South Africa. You can see that monkey looking for food, probably feeding on I'm trying to think what he's got there. Maybe some seed pods or anything up in that tree. Just trying to see what he's got. It looks like he's in a big knob thorn. That's the tree's name. So there are some little seed pods that are in there that he's probably feeding on. I think that's what he's got. So we're going to continue maybe. I'll see if I can't get another glimpse of the monkeys that are hiding on this side of the tree. Let me just go around a little bit. But it's so difficult to see them. And now you'd like to know why the monkeys play hide and seek. Hang on, there's another one. I can see him moving. Let's see. So I say that because it's like they are trying to hide from us. There it is. Oh, there. Just low down. There we go. Nice view of that one. And then again, see how they blend in with the shade. So, I say they play hide and seek because sometimes they get shy when vehicles approach, and they're also a little bit nervous because to a lot of the animals we may appear as predators sometimes. So they're just cautious. That's the whole thing. They want to be careful, they want to be safe. So they try and hide themselves a little bit just behind the branches, so we can't see them as clearly. Wow, that one jumped right out of the tree into the other tree next to it. Very agile climbers, these vervet monkeys. It's right in the center, a little bit lower down, Fergs. You might see it. Where did he go now? He's moved off again. Yeah, just gone out the bottom. See, as I was saying, everyone, very difficult to see the vervet monkeys sometimes. I'm going to see if I can't get another glimpse of them. I think they've moved off. Well, that one certainly did. But while I do that, Tristan has a large pig that he'd like to show you. Well, Byron, we've got pigs of all sizes. We've got one large pig, which is the daddy pig on the left, and we've got mommy pig and then her baby pigs. And they're all here together because where they're going to go for an afternoon swim at the mud wallow. That's where they're heading to. But before they do that, it's lunchtime. So they're having some grass and seeds and tubers and roots that are all growing on the edge of the ground. You can see, look how they put their head down and then they feed in the grass like that. And what they will use is they've got a little snout or a nose that has a disc-like shape to it, and that means that rounded nose is very good for digging, and you'll find they'll put their nose down and they'll dig everything out and make sure that they can get the food that they need. Now, I thought there was a daddy pig here, but he's not here. It's just one mommy pig and all her babies, so she's got lots of babies, and she's done very well to keep all these babies alive, because out here there's so many predators, and the leopard that we're looking for would love to eat these pigs, and so that's why they sometimes are a little bit nervous of us, because they see the car and then they think maybe there's a predator around, and that's why they're busy moving away. You can see now they're just coming onto the road and they're heading straight towards the mud wallow that I was talking about. The mud wallow is just on our other side here, and I think it's that time of the day to go and cool down. So the family is going to the swimming pool for a little bit of a swim. Now you'll see that there are different size piglets there. So some will be males, some will be females. The females will be slightly smaller than the males. Hello, little one. Aren't they cute? They're very cute. You'll also see that on the back of their heads, they have lots and lots of hair that's on the back. See it there? And look at the color of it. It looks just like the grass. And so when they go in the grass like that, and they put that hair up, it makes it impossible for the predators to see them. They camouflage so well. Now, camouflage means that they blend with their environment. So they basically look like the grass, and therefore the predator doesn't see them. It's very, very clever. But let's try and go around and see if I can't get them at the swimming pool and see if they're not going to have a little roll around in the mud. It's very fun to watch pigs roll around in the mud. They get in and then they go on their backs and on their sides and they kick their little legs. It's all very, very cute. So, Rit, I think it is, you asking why do they look different from your pigs? Well, that's just because all pigs out here, or all pigs in the world, are different. There's different types of pigs in the world, and these guys, because they are in the African bush, they have a much tougher skin, because obviously they've got to deal with all the thorns that we have out here and the sharp little bits of wood. Then they'll also have tusks to defend themselves, so those white little sort of teeth that come out of their mouth, those are there so that they can protect themselves from the lions and the leopards and all the other animals. It's very, very important that they have a strong skin and something to defend themselves, and so that's why they look a little bit different. Also, because where they are living, they have to be able to look like a part of the environment so that they don't get hurt by or hunted, and like we were talking about just now. And so that's why they got that grayer coloration with the long fur on the back that helps them to blend in and to make themselves hidden when they're in this area. Now they are going to the water, but I'm going to go round so that we can get a better view of them. Just hold on, we're going to just try and get round this little corner. Now, I believe Byron has pulled off a little trick and he's able to now see the monkeys again. So let's go across to Byron while I try and find the warthogs again.
Well, good luck looking for those warthogs again, Tristan. And we do have a better view of the monkeys. Look, those are some young ones up in this very big jackalberry tree, very close to us. And look how curious that little one is watching us. Look at this beautiful tree, and there's an adult on the bottom right hand side, you can see. So these monkeys have relaxed a little bit with us now. They're happy for us to sit here and watch them. We've been very quiet. Myself and Fergus have just sat here patiently waiting for them to relax and move around, and now they're just enjoying the shade of this tree, probably trying to find any berries, if there are any berries left. There are a few left on this jackalberry tree, so that's what they're busy looking at the moment, or looking to eat at the moment. Laquan, you'd like to know how these monkeys climb on little branches. Well, Laquan, they climb very, very well. The monkeys are incredibly agile, and they can jump around. They hold on with their their hands and their feet. They're able to hold on to the branches. And look at their tail. You see that tail hanging below that monkey? That also helps for balance. So their balance and agility. And the agility means the ability to jump around and hold on to branches and change direction very quickly. Just like that monkey's managed to do now. It's changed direction and disappeared. There it is. So, Christian, the monkeys live in trees because it's safer for them. So what happens is during the day, though, the monkeys will come down and they'll come and drink water if they have to. They'll also forage for food on the ground. Monkeys and baboons, they'll both look for food on the ground during the day, but then at night they go back up into the trees and sleep there, and it's because it's safer for them. So out of harm's way of predators, and especially predators that move around at night. And if they sleep right up in the tall branches of these trees, it's almost impossible for anything to get to them. So it's very clever actually, and it's mainly for safety. It's just to stay up in the trees, in the big trees. At the moment, I think they're up in the trees because it's nice and cool. There's probably a little bit of a breeze blowing up there, and they're in the shade, and their berries at the moment on this jackalberry and those little seed pods on the other trees. So that again, they're looking for food while they are up there now. Lovely to see them so relaxed and allowing us to watch them. There's a few jumping around here. There was a little one that I just saw, caught a glimpse of. And so, Isla, you were wondering what the monkeys are actually eating. So this tree that we are next to, it's called a jackalberry tree, and it has got little fruit on it, the berries of the jackalberry tree, and that's what they are feeding on at the moment. It looks like I can see a few of them trying to look for little berries up in the tree and picking them every now and then. Some are just sitting enjoying the shade. Look at that face. They are quite interesting and entertaining, aren't they? Now Tristan managed to find those warthog again, and they are doing something that they love to do. Let's go have a look.
Well, they do. They're eating still now. They came and had a little drink of water, and some of them went in and started lying in the mud and rolling around. Others decided that they didn't feel like it. So some of the babies were not too impressed with the quality of the mud, and they then moved away a little bit. But lots of the piggies did go in, and the mom went in, and she was lying in the water, and then something spooked her, and she got out, and she moved off and tried to go somewhere else. So I don't know where she's gone. She ran running off to the side, but the little piglets are still here. So it can't be something to worry about too much, because otherwise the piglets would have run after mom. They know that if mom runs away and shows a certain type of body posture, when I talk about body posture, I mean the way that she looks, then the piglets will know, okay, there's something dangerous and we need to run and stay close to mom, otherwise we can get killed. But these little piglets are the perfect size for our leopard that we're looking for. So the last time he was seen was somewhere in this area, and maybe, just maybe, he's watching these piglets. If he was a clever leopard, he would have laid down somewhere close to where the water is, because he knows that the animals are going to come and drink and come and mud wallow, and that's what he wants. So he might be lying somewhere in these areas, and we might get lucky and be able to find him. And that's why we're sitting so patiently with the warthogs, to be able to see, maybe, just maybe, that leopard will come out and show himself while trying to hunt the warthogs. But it is always good just to be able to watch the warthogs themselves and see what they do, because sometimes they'll go and play in the mud and it will be lots of fun. So you'll find a situation where they'll be able to kind of go in and they'll roll, and so that's why I'm also sitting here. It's nice and hot today, so I'm hoping that they will be able to start rolling in the mud and start having a good time. So Gavin, you want to know what these pigs eat. Well, Gavin, if we look at them there, you can see they're busy feeding off the grass. Most of what they're going to eat is grass, and they'll also eat the roots of some of the trees and even some of the little herbs that grow here. And so that's what they really like. They're not like some of the other pigs that will even eat meat. Some pigs that we get in this area are called a bush pig. They sometimes will eat a bit of meat as well, but these guys are more vegetarians than anything else. So they like to eat grasses and little roots and tubers. Now tubers are sort of an enlarged root that you get on some plants, but it looks like they might be moving off now into the thicket. We'll just have to see. I was hoping that they were going to have lots more fun in the mud, because sometimes the warthogs, they'll play for a long time and they'll roll around, and like I say, you'll see their legs sticking out. But today it seems like they've decided it's time to move off and find some shade. It is quite warm today, particularly because it's our winter time, and normally in our winter it gets a little bit colder than this. We're having really nice warm weather for winter, and so maybe the pigs want to find a little bit of shade, like maybe what we would like to do, because it's quite hot in the sun. Jacob, you want to know why the warthogs like to roll in the mud? Well, besides it being lots of fun, Jacob, they actually do it for a very, very clever reason. The reason is that one is it's going to cool their body down, so it makes that temperature get cooler. Remember, when you're very, very hot and you jump into a swimming pool, you get cool straight away, and it makes you feel much more comfortable. So that's the same for the warthogs. But the other reason for it is out here we have lots of ticks. Now, ticks are a small insect that are on the grass, and they feed off the blood of those warthogs. And so what they do is they roll around in the mud, and what that will do is it'll create a layer that it's difficult for the ticks to be able to bite the warthog and to suck the blood. Also, if there is a tick already there, then the tick will get encased in mud, and the warthog will go and rub on a tree or a stump, and it will then be able to pull that tick off and keep the skin in good condition and keep the parasites off them. And so that's why they do it. It's a very, very clever system, and one that sometimes we should use, I suppose, but we at least have brushes and soap that we can use, and they don't have that, so that's why they use the mud instead. But it seems like they've all moved off, so I'm going to try and see if I can't find them again. But I think they probably have gone into a thicket, so we're going to try and see if we can't find our leopard. And while we do that, let's go back to Byron with his monkeys.
I'm still with these monkeys, Tristan, you're right. And they're still just enjoying the berries of the jackalberry. These very, very high branches. It's amazing watching them move around and sit and balance. And every now and then they just keep an eye on us. Tate, you asked how long a monkey's tail is. I think it's hard to say. It's probably about 40 centimeters or so. It's maybe a bit longer, I don't know. I think the best is, Tate, if I show you. Maybe I'd be able to show you. Kate, I apologize, Kate. A monkey's tail is about this length. Just try and show you quickly, I would say. Let's see, well, Fergus focuses on me. I'd say about that length, Kate. So if I was sitting next to that monkey, it's probably about that long, depending on the size of the monkey, obviously, but they can get to about that length. So just to give you an idea, that's quite long. But again, like I said, it helps with balance. So that is why they've got these long tails, and they're probably quite muscular, those tails too. I love these branches of the jackalberry tree. Very, very beautiful. Now, yeah, you asked if we can tell if the monkeys are boys or girls. You can sometimes, but you do have to look very carefully now, yeah? And often the female monkeys might have young monkeys with them, so that is sometimes easier to tell. And then also you can also see the male's genitalia actually quite clearly sometimes, but it's quite difficult to tell from these angles with them sitting with their backs to us and that, so it's not always easy to see. But you can tell if you do look very closely. But in terms of their actual physical appearance, the faces and that looked very similar. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference just by looking at that. Now, I hope I get this name right. Is it Yazir? You asked what kind of other food the monkeys will eat. Well, the monkeys will eat a variety of fruit, seed pods, seeds on the ground that they can find. Trying to think if I've seen them eating anything else. Not really. They might feed on sap from some of the trees, a very sweet sap that they can possibly find on some of the acacia trees. That's generally what these monkeys will feed on. Now the baboons are a bit different. They feed on a large variety of food. Now the baboons, which are bigger than the monkeys, will feed on various plants and fruit and seed pods, but also baboons have been known to also eat meat, so they will also hunt for themselves, especially the big male baboons. They've been known to hunt impala, young impala lambs, and they eat the meat of the impala lambs. Maybe even, I'm trying to think if I've seen them feeding, I think, insects, maybe some insects. So the baboons have got a large variety of food, whereas the monkeys, it's predominantly fruit and vegetation, so plant material. Now, Gavin, you asked a very good question. You asked how are the monkeys and the lemurs different? Now, Gavin, you've stumped me a little bit but I don't think the lemurs are part of the primate family. I'm actually not sure. I stand to correction. See, Gavin, now in Africa, we don't have any lemurs, not down here in southern Africa. Technically, we do have in Africa because Madagascar, the island off Africa, is part of Africa. So, but on the mainland Africa, we don't have lemurs, but on Madagascar, that is where you find all the lemurs. Now, I've never seen a lemur before. I know what they are, though, and you get many different species of lemur. But in terms of the actual difference between the monkeys and the lemurs, and I'm not too sure, Gavin. It's a very good question. I'll have to try find out for you, but I will let you know exactly what the difference is. But I think what we're going to do now is maybe leave these monkeys for a little bit, and we can then come back a little bit later, see if these monkeys are still around. We'll see what else we can find. Now, the name, I missed the name. Is it Faria? I think that was the name. You asked, are the monkeys in families? They are indeed found in families, big family groups or troops. We sometimes refer to them as a troop of monkeys or a troop of baboons, but they are family groups. So from many different males and females that might be siblings, some of them brothers and sisters or aunts and uncles, and then a lot of youngsters in the group too, in the family. So yes, it is quite a big family group of monkeys that we do find. Now, Tristan and I are not the only ones out. As I move on from these monkeys, my friend Brent is up in East Africa, in the Mara, and he would like to say hello to you.
Welcome to the magical Masai Mara here in Kenya. My name is Brent Smith, and I have 6 zone keys on camera. camera. Isn't this exciting? We're taking all our wonderful schools on a live safari from 2 different places. Now, I can't wait to hear all your questions, but I think this is especially for the little boys out there today. I got something so cool. I have to show it with you because I know you're all going to love it. Now, it is a traditional Maasai sword. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Now this is completely handmade and very, very sharp, but it's so I can chop off branches that get in my way, of course. But isn't that very, very, very cool? So a traditional Maasai sword, and the sheath here is made out of cow skin, and it has been stained red with ochre. So ochre is a rock, and if you ground it up, it's quite chalky, and it was what's traditionally used to paint people's faces or the outside of their houses, and it's a very, very important color in Maasai culture, and you will see a lot of their stuff is red. And if we have a look, I'm going to put it over here so it's a little bit easier for you. Now if we have a look carefully at the handle, now the handle, you can see there's even still a bit of hair on there. Now this is made out of goat or sheep skin, and it is tightly wound around a piece of wood, and this takes a really long time to do, and this is not an easy thing to make. So it's not like a knife you buy in a shop that's normally made by a machine. This has been made by hand, and I got it from my good friend who's a Maasai who works at Ngama named John. I also got Jamie one, so we both now have swords. I do feel like I'm 7 again. But I know this is for the boys. They thought it'd be very cool. Girls, I will find something beautiful to show you shortly. Now we do have some zebra out on the open plain next to us. Here we go. Hello, zebras. Now, these are the resident zebra, so they hang around between the mountains in the background and these open plains quite often. Now, if you have a look, look at them, they're a little bit upset. Now this looks like it's a group of little stallions. So like boys, they like a bit of rough and tumble, and they were running away. I think they've been chased by a bigger, meaner boy to keep him away from all the girls. But anyway, very interesting to watch. I hear all the boys say, whoa! I did the exact same thing when I got my sword for the first time. I was very excited. I've only managed to cut myself once today. I've only had it for about 4 hours. But as Steph says, and Steph is another one of our guides who's actually busy building a camp at the moment, and he got a sword for his son who's about a Maasai sword for his son, and he says, well, every little bit of blood that you get on it, it helps you and your sword become friends. Okay, well, I've got some more zebra a bit closer up ahead, so those ones are moving away, so let's see if we can get a little bit closer. But it's very exciting to be honest. We're heading up towards the river. We might see a giant crocodile. Brooke wants to know, why do I have a sword, and what do I use it for? Brooke, it's because I'm a little boy at heart. Little boys love swords and knives and such things. And in this one in particular, if I get stuck in the mud, I use it to chop a tree, so I can put the branches underneath the wheels, so I can get stuck. I use it to cut some cheese if I'm hungry. But yes, it's just a really nice thing to have. So just because it's so well made and handmade and from Kenya, it's a very cool thing. Now, as I say, there could be some very big crocodiles down at the river. This is one of the spots where the zebra and the wildebeest swim across the river to try get between the different patches of grazing. So always a good place to come have a look. Oh, sorry, that's my radio making some noise. Oh, that's turning it up. Let's turn it down. Oh, look, there's a warthog. Hello, warthogs. There we go. So there we go. There's a couple of warthogs. Now, you can see they're a little bit nervous, so just keeping an eye on, making sure we're not up to trouble. Now, the pride of lions that I'm looking for that lives in this area, their favorite food is warthog. So it pays to be very cautious if you're a warthog in this area. And, oh dear, where have my binoculars gone? I want to have a look at something far, far away. Mrs. Gordon. Mrs. Gordon is wondering, are wild pigs different from warthogs? Well, Jess, normally, it depends on your different. We've got quite a few different pig. Whoa, what are you doing, car? Quite a few different pig species here in Africa. This is the only pig that is evolved to handle the savanna biome. So the only one that lives in the grasslands. The other pigs generally prefer thickets or much thicker areas. So you have bush pig. In Kenya, you've got a very cool one called a giant forest hog, and then you have red river hogs. And right in Morocco, you have a remnant population of Eurasian boar that live in the Atlas Mountains. But they are different from wild pigs. What a lot of people consider wild pigs are generally, especially in America, are feral pigs. So the same pigs that are farmed for bacon and pork chops and all those lovely things, but have escaped and gone wild. Whereas this is a completely separate species. Warthogs are their own family. Let's go have a look what's down next to the river. Joey's wondering, are the warthogs aggressive towards people? Well, Joey, no, they're not. So, like any animal, they will become aggressive if they are cornered. But if you're walking out in the bush, the warthogs will run away from you. They can be very aggressive towards lions and cheetahs and leopards, and they've got very sharp teeth that help them defend themselves. So, normally it's only lions and big male leopards that eat warthogs. And here we have some Thomson's gazelle. Now they're becoming one of my favorite animals since I've been in Kenya. They just look so funny, and they've got really long tails. Look at it swishing away. Such a little animal with a long tail. Oh, it's a unicorn. Oh no, it's not a unicorn. It's got two horns. One's just a little bit shorter than the other. I thought I'd found a unicorn for the girls. So there we go. Hello. Now, there are lots of flies that bother these animals, so that's why they've got such a long tail, to keep the flies away from the smelly bits. She looks quite pregnant, actually, and they are supposed to give birth sometime in the next couple of weeks. I have seen a few of them, babies already, but on the other side of the river, and you'll find that there might be a little bit of variation in the birthing of the Thomson's gazelles. Now it's very still here on the open plain. I can hear a rufous-snaped lark in the distance, and I can hear the Mara River. Oh, let's get closer to the river. Maybe I can find you a great big hulking crocodile or a big fat hippopotamus. And the wonderful thing about being on your very own live safari is that there could be a lion or a leopard or a cheetah or a hyena around the next corner, and hopefully we'll be able to find them. We're going to head to the sea.
Welcome back, everyone. What a nice little insert from the Mara with Brent. Lovely to see the warthogs and the Thomson's gazelle. Different antelope that we don't see down here. So it's really nice to be able to see them. We've left the monkeys, we're moving along, trying to see what else we can find. I'm hoping to bump into those elephant again that we saw earlier. Now, Gavin, just getting back to your question you asked earlier about the monkeys and the lemurs, what the difference is. Well, Gavin, technically they are related. The lemurs do fall under the primate family or category, but there is a difference, and it gets quite complicated, but there's a split. So monkeys and us, we fall under a group known as anthropoids, and lemurs fall under a group known as prosimians. So I suppose you could, to make it easier, you could say that we are distant cousins, I suppose, of the lemurs. That's maybe the best way to put it. But they are under the primate group. But there is a slight difference between lemurs and monkeys. But they are also primates, and mainly, and I think only found in Madagascar. So that is unique with the lemurs. I'm going to carry on my search for the elephants. Hopefully we can find some. But it sounds like Tristan has managed to find something large in the water.
Well, I did, Byron, and it's doing exactly the same as this morning, where it's hiding from us. So there is a hippo somewhere in all of those ripples, which just came out and got a massive fright when it saw us sitting here, and then went underneath very, very quickly, and somehow managed to frighten every other animal that was here. The terrapins ducked down, and the Egyptian geese went squawking off. I think everyone caught a little bit of a fright. Now, I was hoping that we were going to find some sign of Mr. Tingana here, but unfortunately at this stage he seems as though he's not really here just yet. Now Rexon is around, and Rexon is guiding from one of the other lodges, and he knows where he last saw Tingana, so he's going to come and give us a hand and see if we can't find this leopard somewhere in this area. I'm hoping that he's going to come eventually for water at Treehouse Dam. I'm sure we're going to pick him up somewhere in this area over the course of the day. Now our terrapins are all coming back up again, and Treehouse Dam has got to be one of the best places for terrapins, and it's why I'm surprised that we don't see our little leopards Shongile and Husana here as much anymore hunting these terrapins, because at one stage they were really into that sort of phase of hunting terrapins, and they used to come to this area and try and hunt them as much as possible. So let's see if maybe we'll be lucky with a leopard coming here at some stage today. But these terrapins are basically freshwater turtles, and so they swim around, and when they're up like this, they're busy breathing because they breathe air. They can't breathe underwater. They don't have gills like a fish, and therefore they need to be able to breathe air. And so they'll come up like this, breathe air, and then they go under whenever there's a disturbance. Now our hippo is being very good at holding its breath. It's been under now, I would say, for probably about 2 minutes. And we're going to just try and see if it's going to pop its head out at any stage. They can hold their breath between 5 and 7 minutes, so we'll be able to test the theory as to how long it takes for this hippo to pop its head back up again. And sometimes what you'll see is when a hippo's gotten a bit of a fright and it's in an area like this, you'll see that its nose will just stick out, and then it will go down, and then it will go and hide again. So you have to be very sort of vigilant and look very carefully for those nostrils. Now, Brooke, you want to know if the hippo will eat those ducks in the background. Well, no, they won't. The hippos, while they have sometimes been known to eat meat, it is very, 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 very seldom that they would do that. A hippo is much like a cow. It eats lots and lots of grass, and in fact more grass than what a cow would. You'll find that a hippo will eat close to 200 pounds of grass a day. Can you imagine trying to eat 200 pounds of grass a day? It takes a long time. And so what happens with the hippos is, because like us, they don't have much fur on their skin, they get sunburnt and they can get very, very dehydrated, which means that they lose a lot of water and they can get very, very affected by that. And so what they do is they stay in the water, underneath the water, and that keeps them nice and cool and keeps them hydrated. And then at night they go out to go and find all this grass, because it takes a long time to find that much grass. You can imagine it takes them most of the night to be able to find the food that they need. Now he still is under the water, so we're now going on to about 3 minutes, so we're going to just keep watching and see. So, Gavin, you want to know if the hippos swim? Well, no, the hippos don't swim. Most of the time what they do is that they'll go on the bottom of the water where the land is, and they'll walk along the bottom of this water hole and then come out the other side. They're very, very heavy animals, and so it's very difficult for them to swim. They don't have nice feet like a duck has with web, so with that piece of skin that goes between the toes that allows them to paddle, and so it's quite tough for them. And so what they do is they just walk along the bottom very, very gently, and then they'll put their heads up when they need to breathe, and then down underneath the water again. And that's why when you see hippos, most of the time a hippo will be somewhere where it's quite shallow. You're not going to see them in areas that is very, very deep, because if they can't stand, then they can't get up to breathe nicely, and it's very uncomfortable. So they'll rather find somewhere where it's a little bit more shallow. So, Luke, you're wondering how long a hippo can hold its breath. As we were saying just now, between sort of 5 and 7 minutes, depending on the hippo. And now we are approaching about 4.5 minutes since that hippo has been underneath, or about 4 minutes since that hippo has been underwater. So any minute now, we should see its little nostrils coming up, or its whole head coming up, so that we can see it. It's probably a little bit shy, because this hippo doesn't live here very often. This is an area where this hippo has just started to come into. In fact, we found its tracks walking here early this morning, and so it's the first time it's been in this waterhole, so it will be a little bit nervous, and that's why it's kind of keeping its head under. But this hippo is doing a very good job of holding its breath, that's for sure. Now I'm hoping it's going to come up soon, because otherwise you're not going to believe me that there was a hippo here. Our terrapins all look relaxed, so hopefully he will come up now. And as it gets quieter, and he'll get used to our presence, and we know that this is a boy because the young males, they tend to move around on their own. The females, they like to get into a big waterhole where they can have their family with them and their babies, and there'll be one big male there. But as the little males get bigger, so that male knows he has to chase them away, and those young males then have to find waterholes like this that are a little bit small to be able to try and find somewhere to survive. And so that's why he's so nervous, is because he's never been in this waterhole, and he's not sure about all these things that are around him, and so that's why he's trying to hide as much as possible. There came in a little dove to come and drink some water as well. These waterholes in the afternoon are going to be the best place to be. Lots and lots of animals will come here. You'll have elephants come here, and buffalo, and all the birds. You can see that Cape turtle dove is having a nice drink now. So it's the perfect place to sit in the afternoon. Ellen, you're wondering if these turtles are snapping turtles. Well, they can bite, and they've got a nasty little bite on them, but they're not snapping turtles, no. These are marsh terrapins or serrated hingeback terrapins. We get two different types of them in this area, but that's what they're called. So a terrapin is their real name, and they are not the same as a snapping turtle. They are related in some way, so they both have hard shells and they both live in fresh water, but these are not the same as the snapping turtle. And this is as big as they get. They don't get any bigger than this, and they're much smaller than what we see with the snapping turtles. But on the other side of the water, Craig, I don't know if you can see, there's some beautiful birds having a drink straight across from us. They're called golden-breasted buntings, and they're just on the edge of the water there, to the left of that stick, just straight across from us. So yeah, go punch in straight there. Very small ones. So Lennon, you're wondering about what the ducks eat. Well, the ducks, they all eat basically they're filter feeders, so they go through the water and they get their beak going from side to side, and they've got almost like a brush on the edge of their beak, and that will pick up all little bits of plant material and little insects and all kinds of other things, and that will go in, and that's what they eat. So they're filtering the water through, and any little bits of food that is in the water is going in and they're swallowing it, and that's what they like to eat. So you'll find that the ducks go along the edge and they'll do this with their beak, and that's basically combing through the water itself. Now both of the ducks at the moment are just resting. You can see they've got their heads tucked in at the moment, so they're just taking it very easy. Now our hippo still hasn't popped up, and we're approaching our 7-minute mark, so I wonder if he's going to come up. So Kadeen, as we said, the hippo is shy because at the moment he's scared. He doesn't know this area at all. He's a young male and he's been chased by a bigger male. And so now he's got to go and find his own home again. And so when he came here, he doesn't know if there's any other hippos here. He doesn't know what dangers there are here, if there's lions or anything else that he has to worry about. And so that's why he's very shy. He's heard this big vehicle coming and lots of noise from the car when the engine is on. And so he's nervous of that, and that's why he's underwater. As soon as we go away, he'll put his head back up, and then he'll be able to sort of see him again. But he seems to be quite shy. Wait, he's coming up, I think. No, There, you can see the water's moving. Let's see if he comes up. There we go. There's our hippo. So a quick little glimpse of the hippo before he goes under. And there we go. So there we go. 7 minutes is how long he was under for. And now that he's back up, let's go across to Byron, who's still on the search for his elephants.
Now look at this, everyone. Well, Tristan's had that hippo in the water, and we've managed to find this herd of elephant. And they're down in the dry riverbed, in the drainage line, and it looks like they've been digging for water. Have a look. Watch this female. Let's see. I think she's found a little bit. She's been digging. You can see her feet are right down in a little hole there that she's dug. So I wonder if she's managed to get some water. Let's see. Let's see if we see any. No, I don't see anything. Does look like her trunk is quite wet. There's a good chance that she has managed to find a little bit of water. But this is such a lovely scene. Seeing these elephants down in the drainage line. Nice cool spot. And digging, looking for water in this dry riverbed. So the reason they're digging for water is because the water table around here, so that's the underground water, probably isn't very deep. So if they dig a hole, and it obviously depends on the time of year, in winter now that water table will be a little bit lower than usual. Yeah, she's definitely getting some water there. You can see some of it dripping out of her mouth. So she has found some water there. So in winter she'd probably have to dig a little bit deeper to get to the water. But in summer, probably not too deep at all, and then the water will start seeping through the sand, and then they can drink it. Tristan and Taylor, now for a second I thought it was Tristan and Taylor, the presenters. But Tristan and Taylor would like to know why elephants have such big ears. So Tristan and Taylor, the main reason is to cool themselves down. So it obviously helps them hear. They've got a very good sense of hearing. But if you look closely at those ears, you can actually see the veins on the edge of those ears. Now, there's a lot of blood running through those veins in the ears, and what happens is the elephants flap their ears, and by doing that, just like that, you see now that female's flapping her ears, the wind cools that blood down in the ears, and it takes about between 7 and 9 minutes for the blood to circulate through the body. So with them flapping the ears, it cools the blood, that then circulates through the body, and it helps control the body temperature, or helps cool themselves down a little bit. Not by much, but it does definitely cool them down. So that's one of the main reasons the elephants have these big ears. The African elephants have very large ears, whereas the Indian elephants, their ears are much smaller. So it's definitely got something to do with the heat that we experience out in Africa, and it helps cool themselves down a bit. Now, Lila, you asked why do the elephants have white things on their trunk. Now, Lila, I'm assuming you asking about those tusks, those big teeth. Those are just extended teeth, technically. That's what they are. The tusks of the elephant, and they use that for a number of different reasons. Now, one of them is to obviously dig. You can see this elephant has used her tusk a little bit to dig some of the sand. And that is exactly, so one for digging and the other one for breaking branches, stripping bark off trees, getting food. So a number of uses for the tusks. Big males will use them to fight. So there are a few different reasons for those tusks. Now we are going to be saying goodbye to our school drive, and it's wonderful that you could all join us. Thank you everybody for your wonderful questions. We hope you've enjoyed it. So from Tristan and myself and from the rest of the team, We'll see you all again on a school drive very soon. The rest of the show is going to continue. We'll carry on shortly. And we're back. The schools have just left us. So back to normal drive, everyone. And again, a big hello to all of you if you've just joined us. And we're sitting with a wonderful herd of elephant. Number of youngsters around. They're digging. They've been digging looking for water. And this female's managed to find some. Every now and then she brings up a trunk full of a bit of water. Not too much. I don't think as much as she'd really like. It's probably nice, cleanish water or fresh water that you can hear her sucking the water out of her trunk. So she is getting some. I missed seeing the elephant, one of my favorites. So nice to be able to spend time with them again, especially in this little spot that we are in. Wonderful cool temperature down in the drainage line, because the days have been very warm here at the moment for summer. So this is really great, and you can see, look at that youngster at the back also probably trying to dig and find some water. You see how they use their feet. You see those little legs kicking, trying to loosen the sand or dig down and get some sand out to get to the water. That's basically why they're digging. He's got his head right down there. We're very peaceful sitting down here watching them at the moment. You can see they're completely relaxed with us. We're not too far from them, and they really are enjoying. Some of them have moved off to the left. They're feeding at the moment, but this young one and this female are digging away for water. Let's see if I wonder if that youngster's managed to find any. Looks like the trunk is wet there. What do you think, Fergs? You think he's found?
Yeah, a little bit. He's battling.
He's battling. Look at that.
Digging with his.
Yeah, using the trunk a bit too. So some of that soil might be moist and wet, but I don't think he's really managed to find water just yet. Isn't this a lovely surprise? Good to be back in the Greater Kruger. And don't forget, everyone, we are completely live, so send us your questions and comments. Hashtag Safari Live. Mad Max, you say elephants are your favorite. Yeah, they definitely are one of my favorites, if not the favorite. I love spending time with them. They're such intelligent creatures, and also I don't know, I really enjoy spending time and viewing elephant, from the big bulls right down to the little ones who are always very inquisitive and curious and playful. It's lovely to view all of them. A little shake of the head from that female. Wonder if she's moving off from the herd. Yeah, so those of you, well, thank you very much for all the comments. Everybody welcoming me back. It's good to be back. I've been away for about a month. It wasn't all holiday though. It was a lot of work, believe it or not. I did have a short little break, which was great, down in Cape Town. But then the rest was work. I was in Durban for a travel show. I was in the Kalahari, so northwestern part of South Africa. I was guiding up there, took some guests up, photographic trip, very different from here. and we did obviously there's no elephant up in that part of South Africa. So it's wonderful to see the Ellies again. But we did see a lot of different antelope species. We got to see some really interesting birds. And the terrain is just so different. Very dry, semi-arid to desert. So completely different to this part of South Africa. I can't believe how warm it is here. These days are still lovely. Over there, at this time of the day, we'd already have jackets on. Temperatures drop very quickly and don't really get that warm during the day up in those areas. And at night and in the mornings it gets very cold. Well, for us. As I said, for Europe and the Americas, they must be thinking we're quite soft down in Africa. But for us on game drive in the mornings, if it gets down to 2 degrees or 0 degrees Celsius, it's very cold, and especially driving around in an open vehicle. Now, Laurie, you asked, do I think this baby will get stuck in that little hole that it's been digging? I don't think so, Laurie. This is just a dry riverbed, a sand riverbed. So digging away like this, it's not very muddy. It's easy for them to move around. It's not like a herd would go and drink at a mud wallow. Then there might be a chance that they could potentially get stuck, the little ones. But I think in this little area where we are in the dry riverbed, it's unlikely that it would get stuck. This is not muddy, it's just sand, and these holes aren't very deep. So not at all, it's just trying to get some water. And I think the female managed to find. I don't think that youngster did. But we'll see. Now, they've just moved. No, I think it's Aussie Bonnie who asked how much can an elephant drink, a baby elephant drink. Well, the adults can drink a number of liters of water. I think it's, each trunk can take, or trunk suck, you could call it, I suppose, where they suck water up into the trunks. It can take about 5 to 8 liters of water at a time and drink. So they can drink a number of liters, 20, 30, 40 liters of water for an adult. But the youngsters, a young one like that, maybe 3 or 4 liters, maybe a bit more, I would say, that they would stand and drink at one time, probably. It's hard to say, really. It also depends how thirsty they are, how long they've gone without water. So a number of factors that need to be taken into consideration. But yeah, probably that amount. Now, I'm just trying to have a look. They've moved off now into the thicket. I'm thinking that we've had such a lovely view of them. I'm not going to disturb them and try and get closer to them while they are moving through the thicker bush. So why don't we move on and see what else we can find. But I wonder, just trying to think, I'm not going to go down this way because I know there's a little section that our signal may get a bit bad and I may lose you. So let's go back this way and see what else we can find. Try to get out of this dry riverbed. What a wonderful sighting. So nice to see those Ellies. Fergus, let me know if I hit anything. There's some more little holes next to us where the elephant have been drinking, or trying to find water rather. Just want to show you quickly. Just have a look at this just off to the side. You can see where the elephant have been digging, just around here. Give me a second, I'm going to jump off here quickly. I want to show you all these marks that we can see around here. All these elephant tracks. Now here are some of the young elephant tracks, not very big. It's only about that big, so not big at all. That's one of the young elephant. It's been digging around. But I can see the soil is quite wet, but no water really. You can just see it's slightly damp, but there's no water that they got to here. Maybe that's why they moved further down and tried to check over there. But you can see there is definitely moisture in the sand in this dry riverbed. Nice to see where they've dug. Alright, let's move out again, just reverse a little bit further. We don't have that much to go, or that far to go rather. Really testing my reversing skills here. Fergs, I'm going to try reverse through there rather. Alright, hold on. And we're almost out. There we go. So, let's see what else we can find. I'm trying to think which direction to go to now. Tristan is still trying to have a look to see if he can find Tingana. But I don't think he's had any luck just yet. Why don't we cross over to him now and see where he is, what he's managed to find.
Well, Byron, what we've managed to find is probably one of the easiest things to find out here, and that is a large pile of dung. And since you were with your elephants, I thought, well, we would take a closer look at dung and try and sort of break up what happens in elephant dung and how it all works. Now, in the road at the moment, there's lots and lots of balls of this because we've had a high number of elephants around. But what is very, very interesting, you can actually see there that Craig's showing you, what is interesting about the dung is how the dung's consistency is starting to change now over the sort of months. As we're now moving away from the summer and more into the winter, so we're going to start seeing a very different type of dung coming out from the elephants. Firstly, it's going to be a lot more rough and a lot more solid than what we saw during the summer months. And the reason for that is because in summer, the dung itself tends to be very, very moist from all the grass that they're eating. A lot of that grass is high in moisture content, and therefore the dung that comes out is often a lot looser in its consistency than what we're seeing now. The other thing that we're going to start to see, and you can see it here on this one, is if you have a look here, there's big sticks that are starting to come and form in the dung itself. So we're going to start seeing things like this inside the elephant dung as they start moving away from grasses and moving more towards sticks and things like that. That's what we're going to see is the sort of volume of this dung is going to become far more fibrous, and it's going to be bark and root and stick rather than what we're seeing now, which is still grass. Now this particular pile of dung is quite old. It's probably, I would say, at least 3-4 days old, and you can see it's still mostly grasses, and that's because the elephants at this stage are still just making use of some of the grasses after that late rain that we had. Now you may be wondering why there's all this soil in the middle here. So you can see this whole section is soil at the moment, and the reason why is because of insects that are busy trying to break down this ball of dung. Elephants have a very, very poor digestive system, and so when they eat, they're only digesting about 40% of what is actually going in. The other 60% of the nutrients that they put in is going to start coming out the other side and is going to be laid in this big ball. And so if you're an insect, particularly something like a termite that really battles to be able to break down the cellulose in grasses and leaves and branches, it becomes a lot easier once it's passed through the elephant's gut system, because the elephant's gut has broken down some of that cellulose already, and it becomes a lot easier to absorb. And so what we're seeing is that the termites have come, they've built this sort of the soil structure around it, much like they would build a termite mound, and that allows them to then work on the inside here and start harvesting all of this grass that we see and starting to make use of it. Now this hole that you see over here would have been where the termites would have been going in, and you can actually see the little striations as their bodies moved along underneath the surface of this, and they started to then utilize this particular ball of dung. Now I have chosen probably the largest ball of dung ever, so I want to just try and quickly break it open because there's no termites here, so I don't have to worry about their structure too much. But I'm going to just try and see if I can't break the ball of dung itself open and see what the termites have actually done inside here. So there we go. We don't need that section. But basically, if we have a look now where I've broken, you can actually see the soil particles of how deep the termites got into this. The termites were all the way through the middle of this dung, and they were accessing all these sort of areas. Now, the reason why they would have gone towards the center point of this ball of dung is because what happens is as soon as this is defecated, the sun out here, and we know that it's been quite warm, starts to bake this and it starts to dry this out. Now, this grass on the edge is all very rough, sort of dead and dry, and there's very little nutrients left inside of that. But the stuff in the middle here, you can see is still of a darker nature, and it's still got some moisture in it, which means that it is pliable and it is able to still gets some sort of nutrients, and as the ball dries out, so the center part becomes the last point that they can harvest from. And that's why generally what you'll find is that the particles of soil will start on the edge of a ball of dung, and as it gets older, so the termites start traversing back into the middle to be able to then eat inside there. And I'm quite surprised that we haven't found any insect, especially after I've broken it open like this. Generally when you break open balls of elephant dung, they're a hive of activity for insects, whereas at this stage you can see that there is very little inside here. So Stanley, you want to know if herbivore dung smells less than carnivore dung. Well, Stanley, the answer to that is unequivocally yes. There is no ways that you will be able to hold carnivore dung like this. It would be, one, it would be very, very stinky. Two, you would be getting lots of bacteria on your fingers that would make you very, very ill. So that's not something you want to do at all. And even this dung now, basically all it smells like is dry grass. That's what it smells like, almost hay. If you've ever smelt what hay smells like, that's exactly what this dung smells like. It's so dry now that it's no longer got that strong scent that we see on something like fresh elephant dung. When you get a fresh elephant dung, it's still got that strong stomach smell to it, and it can be a little bit offensive on the nose, especially if they've been eating marulas, and you get these rotten marulas inside, and that's a little bit pungent. But this is now just all basically smells just like hay itself. Right, well, enough talking about that. Off that goes. Let's clean this, because otherwise Taylor's going to shout at me. We don't want Taylor to know that I made Wendy's so dirty, although Wendy's in the bad books with Taylor, so we don't have to worry too much. But while we do that, then carry on and see if we can't find Tingana. We're still in this area, still searching. Let's go across to Byron and see if he's had any more luck on his own account.
Well, Tristan, funny, you've been looking at all the elephant dung, and we've just been finding a lot of elephant. Now, the elephant are just ahead of us, some more elephant actually, not the same group that we saw, but they're slowly moving in front of us along the road, so we'll follow them a little bit. Here we go, right around the corner. One busy feeding, and there is fresh elephant dung in the road. So Tristan, if you'd like to come and have a look at this, I'll tell you where it is. Can't get fresher elephant dung than this. Now, I think I saw two elephant. And it's just the one in front of us now, and it sounds like the other one has moved off to our right. It's in the bushes. I can't actually see it, I can just hear it. See how they break the branches as they move along and feed on them. Sometimes they'll drop the branches in the road, those branches that they haven't fed on. Now, Christine, you asked, how can we tell if the elephant is female or male? Now, Christine, there are a number of little things you can look for. Now I'm just trying to see if I can have a look on this one. There's a few of them. There's another one just off in front of us. But Christine, so with a lot of the elephant, or with the elephant, the females have got very prominent mammary glands under the front legs. So often you can see the mammary glands if you look closely. And yeah, like have a look at this one in the road, quickly just crossing, and there you can just see under the front leg, you can see the teats and the mammary glands. Let's see if she turns for us. This looks like a group of females. We'll see if we can get another view of it. But Christine, that's one thing you can look for. The other thing is the forehead. The forehead of the female and males are very different. The females they've got quite angular heads, so almost a right angle 90-degree forehead, very sharp and pointed forehead, whereas the males have got a much rounder forehead. It kind of slopes and rounds up in the front. So if you just see the heads, you can probably tell that it's a male or female just by looking at that. And let's see if we can have a look at the ones up ahead though. But Christine, those are the two main things to look for just quickly. And then obviously male genitalia can be seen from time to time, especially when they're in must. here we go. Here's this female in the road, and you should be able to see. There we go. And yeah, just decided to move off, but you could just see mammary glands under the front legs there. Now, I'm going to try and move through this herd of elephant and see what else we can find. We've been very fortunate with our elephant sightings so far this afternoon. Brent is up in the Mara at the moment, and he's got a different antelope he'd like to show you.
Welcome back to the Masai Mara, and here we have a little Coke's Hartebeest having an evening drink. Isn't that backlight just gorgeous? And isn't that a thirsty little one? Mom seems to be quite tolerant, and quite often you'll notice, there we go, I was going to say, when they get to about that age, and those little sharp horns are quite painful on Mom's tummy, but they will headbutt her udders to try stimulate milk production. Now we are right on the edge of the Mara River forest, and I'm slowly just meandering along, seeing what we can find. Fortunately, there are no big crocodiles out and about. Well, that is just an exquisite scene of those hartebeest with that western light shining upon them. Now, one thing I'm quite grateful for is that we're not windy anymore. There we go. So we're going to move on, and because it's not windy, guess what it means we can do? Hopefully birdwatch a bit more than we did this morning. Or the paka is misbehaving a little bit, but I sorted her out, and hopefully she should be right as rain. It's quite nice. We've spent a lot of our time in the afternoons ducking rainstorms, and we're not having that today. So it's quite pleasant to just sort of bubble around. You're not going to have to dash to get away from rain. Now, I wanted to find a sooty chat this morning, and alas, I failed. So I am on the hunt for a sooty chat this afternoon. Now, the sooty chat is about as snooty as our FC at the moment. All the FC girls, they like to chirp us. But don't worry, we always get our own back with the odd spider or snake in their beds. Of course, I'm only joking. Remember, Safari Live, if you've got any questions for us. Oh, I got my going here. I'm going to turn it up a little bit. Now, my Swahili I can understand when speaking to a person. Speaking is not great, but when you hear the speed of Swahili that comes through the radio, it is something quite impressive. Of course, now it is silent. There's something that might be sleeping. La la la. We'll just bumble along. But I leave it on, of course, because it's a very good way for me to learn as I go listening to the Swahili, and hopefully my Swahili, well, bado kidogo naongea zaidi safi sana. Is what I did there. Say, Mbuzi, got Mbuzi. So Senzo, of course, is the big trip up from South Africa. As he gets spoken to quite a lot by all the Swahili speakers in Kenya, and Senzo just sort of looks, and it's quite surprising because I have to do some of this talking for him. Oh, okay, well, I'm going to keep on looking for, oh, what's that? Oh, it's a warthog, I think, hiding in the grass. Oof, dust, go away. You see it? Oh, that camouflaged pig. You can see that lovely green grass there. Probably means there's a bit of a muddy patch that it's lying in. Oh, no, there we go, heads up. Oh, so they saw me. Goodness gracious. I'm just trying to wallow in the mud in peace, and these people just keep bothering me. But we'll leave the pig to wallow and me to search for the sooty chat. While we do that, let's go back to be Ron on Djuma.
Thanks, Brent. I hope you have more luck finding animals up there. We are sitting right under a very large marilla tree. Beautiful big marilla tree. And we know the elephant like to feed on the marilla fruit in summer. There's no fruit at the moment, but they may still enjoy feeding on some of the branches and the bark and the leaves of these trees. I'm still trying to get through this herd. They're still in front of us, moving along the road very slowly. So we'll see. But some little birds that are just on a branch just off to the right. Let's see if we can see them. Just over there. There you go. Crested Francolin. Look at that. There they are. All three of them perched on that branch, preening themselves. Beautiful birds. There's an elephant moving through the bushes to my right. I can't see it. I can just hear the bushes being moved or the branches being moved. So there are a few elephant, at least 3 or 4 around us at the moment. So we'll probably see them again shortly. Look at that. Beautiful little bird. Lovely little crested Francolin. It's so nice to see all the wonderful bird species around at the moment, and all over the country, all over Southern Africa. And depending on the area, the bird life is also quite different. As I was saying now in the Kalahari, it's also completely different to what we've got here. A lot of bird species there that we do not see here, so that was nice to see. And I actually got a few new birds that I haven't seen before. Right, now let's see if we can carry on moving through, see where those elephant are, and then I might try head towards Buffelshoek Dam. I'd like to see how much water's left in there at the moment, and maybe we're lucky and something comes down to drink. It's still quite warm, nice time of the day. The temperature is starting to cool down a little bit. Here's the elephant in front of us. Probably going to cross the road. Look at this. Now I'm just going to try to get an update quickly. Stick with me. I'm just going to radio the other guides. Apparently there might be an update on wild dogs. Now I'm not sure. They've been running through parts of this area, and it sounds like they've been denning on the northern part of Singita. That's the last update I got. So that means the wild dogs would move around these areas quite frequently until those pups are ready to move off, and then they'll probably move around. Alright, well, let me try and get an update quickly on where these wild dogs are. Let's head back to Tristan, who has managed to find the owner of the elephant Dung that he had earlier.
Well, I don't think it's the same one, but yes, it is the animal that would have made said Dung. It is a massive elephant bull. It's our Tusker friend from yesterday morning. So yesterday we had him at Treehouse Dam, and he managed to entertain us with his drinking and walking around and had lots of swagger. But today he's in a far more relaxed mood. I've been following him through the thicket, and he's actually been really quite fine with us, and in no way has he turned around and been angry towards us or shown us any sort of aggression. And funnily enough, we found him at Treehouse Dam. So I was hoping that we were going to have another situation like yesterday, where our patience with spending time with him will be rewarded with a spotted cat, and that we'll get another cat coming out at Treehouse Dam with our elephant bull. So that's what I'm hoping. You can see, look at his long tusks through the bush there. Now, unfortunately, he's probably going to disappear fairly shortly because I can't follow him much further than where we are now. But he is such a magnificent individual. thank you for coming out a little bit so that we can see you. Spending time with giants like these is just the most magical feeling in the whole world, and it's something that is very difficult to describe. And anytime you see these sort of big tuskers, just think to yourself all the sort of stories that those tusks could tell, and what this elephant has seen and been through. And it's quite sort of mesmerizing just to watch these really giant elephant bulls with big tusks. They really are the most impressive animals. It's a very special feeling to see one. You almost get super excited when you see those big tusks and see an animal like that. And I'm hoping that one day I'll see this big bull walking straight towards me down the road, because that would be quite a sight to see as he sort of approaches straight on with those tusks facing forward. It'd be a very, very special experience indeed. And it always kind of reminds me of the sort of big tuskers that used to be in Kruger, and they were around in the 80s, and I would have loved to have spent time around those animals. It's such a sort of sadness that when you go and see the tusks, there's a museum in Kruger that's got all of these tusks, and it kind of fills your heart with amazement, but there's also the sadness in that we don't see animals like that anymore because of the poaching that's happened in Africa, and a number of these 100-pound tuskers have been lost to that. And you kind of think to yourself how amazing it would have been to have spent time around these massive bull elephants that had these huge tusks that weighed over 100 pounds each. And when I talk about huge tusks, you can stand with your arm like this and you won't be able to even reach the top of those tusks. So it's an incredibly humbling experience, but also a sad one in that we don't see them as much as we used to in the past. So hopefully males like this, who are not the oldest of males, I would say this guy is only in his 40s, so those tusks are going to continue to grow. Hopefully we'll start to see more and more, and particularly in areas like Kruger where they've been protected, it will be hopefully a sign that we'll start to see more of those big guys coming out in the future. Right, our elephant bull is slowly meandering into the thickets. I'm not going to follow him in there because we do know he is in muss, and even though he's been a gentle giant this afternoon, don't want to irritate him too much. So let's go back to what he's probably looking for in a herd of elephants with Byron.
We've been trying to move kind of through this area, but there are just elephant everywhere. But this is such a beautiful sighting at the moment, because again these elephant have come down to the riverbed, the dry riverbed. They've been digging a lot, and you can see, and they have found some water. They've been splashing themselves, and we've got two little babies, tiny baby elephant, playing and rolling around and also trying to get to some of this moisture in the water. It is so cute. It's like this other young elephant is protecting them, standing in front of them, but there you can see it clearly. Look at that little one kicking away at the sand, using its head. I actually don't know what it's trying to get there, unless it's just been watching the adults and maybe copying the adults, because these little ones are really young. Wow, that is very, very small. I'm guessing that's a few months old. It's hard to say. That's not an adult to the left of it. It's just another young elephant. But those two youngsters, they look similar in age. The one on the left does look a little bit older, looks a little bit bigger. So I would put the one on the left maybe at about 6 or 8 months, and maybe the one on the right maybe a little bit younger, 4 or 5 months, perhaps somewhere around there. It's always hard to age these young elephant, but I think so. They are very, very small. Very, very small, and you can see that they don't really know how to use those trunks, and they're pushing one another around. Mary, you said this is so sweet. It is very, very sweet and very cute. Now I'm going to keep my voice down a little bit, because there's an elephant approaching us from behind, and I'm hoping it decides to just walk past us. But I'm going to watch. I don't want to get in the way of the elephant. There it comes. There we go. So I'm going to sit here quietly. Let's see what happens. Just going to watch this elephant's behavior. relax. Just have a look at us. Have a look. Well, that one wasn't that interested in walking right past us. Just came to have a look, but very comfortable, and just moved off to the side. Now have a look. These two are still lying down at the moment. Now, Richard, you asked, do elephants ever give birth to two calves? Yes, Richard, it can happen. I've never seen, and to be honest, I don't know. I had a look at these two, and initially I thought, I wonder if these aren't perhaps twins. I wonder if they aren't perhaps twins, but I'm not sure in this situation. But Richard, yes, elephants have been known to give birth to twins. As I said, these two look slightly different in age. The one definitely looks a little bit bigger than the other one. But yes, elephants have been known to give birth to twins. I've never seen it myself, but it has happened in the wild, and it does happen. So Richard, to answer your question, yes, females do give birth to two calves sometimes, but it doesn't happen very regularly.